Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with daily technical update on currencies and interest rates and cryptos. This video is for educational purpose only. There's no recommendation or advice whatsoever intended. And as usual, we start with euro dollar trading currently around the 100 moving average and is below the 38.2 retracement there. I think we could see it dipping down to around 116.65 support there. That was the resistance when it broke out here a couple of weeks ago. We could dip down. We could even dip down to the 61.8 retracement of 116.35. I'm not quite sure we'll do it, but it is a possibility. And the reason why I'm not quite sure we'll do it, first of all, we are still in positive sentiment. Yes, we broke below the rising trend line there on the RSI, but also we have the 200 moving average and we have the 55 giving some support here, or adding to the support here. So maybe just down to around 116.65 and then a bounce. The uptrend is still intact. The sterling dollar basically just trading sideways, and this is the range it needs to break out of, basically between 134.30 and 135.90 or 136 up here. So that's the range to break out of. 55 moving average giving some support there. Positive sentiment still on the RSI. So I think we will turn around eventually, but for now we could have a pressure to the downside here. So keep an eye on this support there. If it takes it out, well, then we're looking at 133.77 and possibly down to 133.25. I don't think we'll see that, but it has to be taken into account. Euro sterling seems to be forming a correctional flag pattern here, and this is what we call a flag. And it's basically a very short-term corrective downtrend channel here after a bullish move, and currently testing the lower part of it, or trading around the lower part of the this channel-like pattern. RSI has, as we speak, has been bouncing off the 40 threshold, so still in a positive sentiment. So let's see if it can turn around here. If it takes out the upper falling trend line, well, then we are likely to take out also at least test the 87 40 45 resistance up here. The dollar yen has broken above the falling trend line and is fast approaching the 786 retracement there at 159.85. And the minor resistance there around 160. A move up around above 160 is likely to also push it to 160.5 and take it out. And if it does that, which I believe it will do, again, it's not a recommendation, it's just what I'm reading at the moment, and things can quickly change. But if it takes it out, well, then we could be looking at the 138.2 projection of this corrective phase here at the 161.5 area. If it slides back, well, then we are still caught range bound and we're still a bit sideways range trading, but at least it seems like we have a trend line there that it's breaking out of. The euro yen, well, humming away sideways between 180.20 and 187.95, and that's the range. We're still in a bullish trend. It's still intact unless it takes out the lows there at 186.14, so I would say 186.10. If it takes out that and breaks below the support there at 186.20, well, then we could see it down to 185.25, possibly down to 185 here, 184.75. But range trading it is. Short term it's corrective, but I think we will see it crawling higher here eventually. So the Aussie yen slowly just trading just below the peak. They're still in a bullish trend. If it takes out the peak there at 114.40, which it seems like it will bounce off the trend line there, then I think we could see it up to around 116 short term, possibly higher up to 117. The sterling yen, the last of the yen pairs, the sterling yen also gearing up to a break higher, and we could see it breaking up to 217 here, unless it takes out the lows there from this bullish candles at 213.90. Then we could see it setting back below 213.25, but I think we will see it higher. The Aussie dollar also a little bit sideways here, but that's how it is. I mean, more than half of the time, the market in general is just moving sideways. It doesn't doing much really, but we're still in a bullish trend. Just this spike up here, it tells us it could be a bit of a struggle to push further, but if it's taking out this 72.25, well, then we are looking at 73.30 area, possibly higher in the coming weeks, but there is a risk for a correction down to 65 to 61.8 retracement here. Then we have the 55 coming up, giving some support. We can also see the 21 is turning around, or it's rising here, and in a couple of days, maybe not before the weekend, but early next week, it is likely to push above the 55 and above the cloud, further supporting the short-term bullish view. Dollar Canada stabilizes itself here at 136.30. The lower cloud support. RSI still negative sentiment, so there is a risk lower, and I think if it takes out that low, it also takes out the 786 retracement down here because it's just below it. So that's actually, I will regard this as being hit more or less. It's within a few pips from it, and you have to remember FX is trading over the counter, so it's not 100% pips perfect due to the nature of that. So it will continue lower, and I think after correction that could take it up to around 137, which is around the 55 moving average that is coming down there. We have the 100 hours declining. I don't think we could see that much of a correction, but if it really turns out a bit wild, then we're 38.2 retracement there at 137.60 could be seen, but we are still in a bearish trend below all moving averages. So I think eventually after correction, we will push lower on dollar Canada. The Swiss franc pairs, Euro Swiss, it seems to be bouncing off this 38.2 retracement here just above the cloud, but it has some there is something pressing it down here with the 100 moving average coming down there. So a correction here short term is likely to be short-lived, I believe. And up here, as I said many times before, we have very strong resistance here in the region around 92.65, and I don't think we'll get up there. So short term, we are in a bearish trend, as you can see, but it's just very short, and it could bounce. So in the bigger picture, range bound between 91.25 and 92.65. Dollar Swiss, well, dollar Swiss also bouncing a bit here. Currently above the cloud, but negative sentiment, so it is in a bouncing mode that could take it up to around 78.25, the 38.2 retracement at this. But then we have also the 100 moving average kind of pulling it down, 21 pushing it down, and up here 100. So that could be a little bit, quite a bit of resistance. If it could bounce all the way up there, I doubt it, but it's not unlikely. 61.8 retracement there at 79.40. Taking out the lows there, then I also think we will take out the minor support there at 77.45, and with a push down to around 76.50 area. And then I will just from time to time introduce new one. It is EURSDJPY, or the Swedish krona against the euro, and due to the nature of lesser liquidity in the EURSDJPY, as we call it, a stocky from Stockholm, then there is of course a lot of spikes here, but then we will just look at the bigger picture on the weekly chart, and we'll see we are in a downtrend, and it seems to be continuing here below all moving averages. 100 coming down, 55 moving average coming down, and we are likely to push lower. RSI is still negative, and if we add a trend line to it, we can see, well, it's broken below its rising trend line. So I think we will see it pushing lower here in the coming weeks and months, and we could see it down to levels around, and I'm just it was deliberate that I wait a little bit just to see how it work. So we are below this support area here, but we are now down looking at 10.25 area that could give some support if it takes out the lows down here at 10.40 area. So it seems like we turn around here again, and we are in this longer term bearish trend. EURNOK, the Norwegian krone against euro, even worse to say the least, pushing lower here. 10.87 currently trading, and I have added a Fibonacci projection to this correction here. It made this short-term wild correction there, and 161.8 projection of that is just around 10.68, which is the upper part of that bigger correction area here. So we have this correction area here, the upper part was there, and the lower part is 10.14. Will we get down there? It's debatable. That it's much longer term, probably towards the end of the year, maybe even next year, if it gets down there. But that could come in play if it takes out the support here at around 10.68. To really turn around, it needs to get back above 11.35, but it's not really in the card at the moment. And finally, the dollar index, as usual, as the last in the FX world. Dollar index is keep bouncing. It's reached the 55 moving average and the 38.2 retracement there at 98.60, just a few pips from it, and I think it will touch it. There is a potential up to this stronger resistance in this gap area here, and this gap is formed here back in the back in early April. 98, so just below 99 here. It could get up there, but negative sentiment and 100 moving average declining, 200 virtually flat and rejected here at the 55. So I think it will turn around and resume a downtrend. Moving on to yields, US 10-year Treasury yield that has been dipping below the 38.2 retracement there around 4.25, and now seems to be bouncing. We won't know more about that in the coming days. If it takes out the 4.35, 4.36 here, well, then it could be headed back towards the 4.5% area, and especially if RSI gets back above the 60 threshold, that will support the bullish trend has resumed. On the European yields, yesterday and also today, the past few days, the 10-year European Treasury yields or the European yields has been pushing higher, and in this bigger range here, which is still 290, 313, I think we could see a bounce up to that. And if we add a little bit of Fibonacci just to give you some levels there, we can see we are just around the 61.8 retracement there again, just at 304%. The UK 10, if it takes out 4.95 there, then I think we'll see a push above 5% again, and also possibly challenge the 5-10% up there and could take it out. The Japanese 10 has bounced from the support there at 238, that peak there, and bounced from it, and could be in maybe a week's time or so have another go at the 2.5 really key resistance up here. The on the crypto market, we had excuse me, we had Bitcoin very close to 80,000 yesterday or overnight, setting back a little bit, but still trading in this flag-like pattern here, rising flag, rising trend line here. We saw here it was a corrective flag. Well, it has been running a little bit longer, so maybe it is just the bullish trend that is continuing, but it seems to be exhausting a little bit. We see RSI declining a little bit here. So let's see. But if it takes out the peak from yesterday at 79,523, then we're looking at 83.5 area, maybe even up to 90,000. So let's see about that. But for now, it seems to be short-term exhaustion mode. More or less the same picture on the Ethereum. That needs to be adjusted a bit. There we are. Also trading in this rising trend here short-term, but are struggling for to take out the 2,500 level. All right, that's all for today. Keep channeling out there and have a nice day.